Here is a question that sounds almost childish until you put it into a prehistoric body. What happened when early humans saw snow for the first time? Today, snow is already named before it reaches you. A forecast warns you. A jacket waits in a closet. Roads are salted. Heaters turn on and children are told whether school is closed. Even if snow is dangerous, modern life surrounds it with explanation, preparation, and equipment. Now imagine a group that has never felt it. The sky turns pale. The air bites the skin. Rain does not fall as water, but as soft white fragments that vanish on the tongue and cover the ground. Familiar tracks disappear. Plants are hidden. Stones become slippery. Fingers ache. Breath turns visible. The world does not simply become colder. It becomes unreadable. The popular image would be funny. Early humans staring upward, confused, trying to catch snowflakes like children. And maybe there was wonder. But the first encounter with snow was not only beautiful. For a body without modern clothing, insulated houses, weather forecasts, or guaranteed fire, snow could mean a sudden change in survival rules. Water was still there, but frozen or hard to use. Food was still somewhere, but buried, moving, or harder to reach. Shelter became more urgent. Movement became more expensive. A mistake that felt small in warm weather could become dangerous when the body started losing heat. So this video is not about imagining early humans as foolish people shocked by white dust from the sky. It is about what happens when an intelligent animal meets a new environment that attacks through cold, concealment, and confusion. Early humans survived because they were not locked into one landscape. They watched, copied, remembered, experimented, and turned strange events into rules. The real question is not just, were they scared of snow? Of course they may have been. The better question is, how did a human group turn the first white, freezing, silent change in the world into knowledge? Because the first snow was not just weather. It was a test of attention. The mistake is thinking snow would only be a visual surprise. A modern person sees snow as weather with a name, a forecast, and a set of expected behaviors. Put on a coat, stay off icy roads, heat the house, watch for school closures. But for early humans encountering snow for the first time, the problem was not just, what is this white thing? The problem was, what does this do to the world we depend on? That reframes the whole question. Snow was not simply cold rain. It changed surfaces. Sounds, smells, movement, tracks, plants, water, and risk. A familiar path could become slippery. A known food patch could vanish under white cover. Animal tracks could become easier to see in one place and completely erased in another. A stream could become harder to drink from. A sleeping place that was acceptable yesterday could become dangerous tonight. The environment had not disappeared, but it had been hidden behind a new layer. So the better question is not, did early humans understand snow? Understanding was not one moment, it was a process. The group had to test what snow meant with their feet, hands, breath, hunger, and memory. Does it melt near warmth? Does it make water? Does it preserve tracks? Does it numb fingers? Does it make animals move differently? Does it signal a season that will last, or a strange event that will pass? Each answer mattered because cold punishes slow learning. This also prevents the myth that early humans were helpless in new climates. Humans are not specialists like polar bears or snow hares. They are flexible apes with tools, fire, clothing, shelter-making, cooperation and memory. But flexibility does not mean instant mastery. The first snow would have been confusing because it turned old knowledge unstable. Early humans survived not because they already knew snow, but because they could turn surprise into rules before surprise became disaster. To understand snow in the ancient world, you have to imagine a human body meeting cold without the modern insulation that makes cold feel optional. No sealed house, no synthetic jacket, no waterproof boots, no weather app saying how long it will last. Body heat was a resource that had to be protected, and snow attacked that resource quietly. It did not bite like a predator. It pulled warmth away through wet skin, frozen ground, wind, and tired muscles. The landscape changed at the same time. Plants that were easy to recognize could disappear under white cover. Small animals might hide deeper. Larger animals could move to different feeding places. Water might still exist, but in forms that took effort to use. A stream edge could freeze. Snow could make fresh footprints visible, but it could also cover older tracks and erase familiar signs. A world once read through color, smell, texture, and dust suddenly had a new language. This mattered because early humans were not just surviving temperature, they were surviving uncertainty. If a group came from warmer regions or entered colder lands gradually, snow may have arrived as a series of shocks. First frost, first hard ground, first white morning, first storm that stayed. Each step demanded new behavior. Cover the skin better, keep fire alive, sleep closer, Choose shelter more carefully, move differently, watch where animals go. Snow also changed the group's rhythm. Children had to be protected from cold faster than adults. Elders and injured people made travel harder. Gathering fuel became urgent. Wet clothing or wet fur wraps could become dangerous. A short trip away from camp could cost more energy than expected. In warm weather, a delay might be annoying. In snow, delay could become a threat. So the ancient context was not only wonder at a white sky, it was the discovery that the same land could suddenly demand new rules. Snow made the familiar unfamiliar, and survival depended on how quickly the group learned to read the white layer covering everything they thought they knew. The evidence for a first human reaction to snow is almost impossible to preserve directly. Archaeology cannot show the first gasp, the first laugh, or the first fear when white flakes fell from the sky. What it can show is something more useful. Humans and other hominins repeatedly lived in places where cold, frost, ice, and snow were real survival problems. The evidence is not a single snowy moment, it is a pattern of adaptation. The first layer is geography. During the Pleistocene, human groups spread into regions where winters could fall below freezing. That means snow was not just a rare curiosity for many populations. It became part of the seasonal world they had to understand. Cold exposure would have made shelter, fire, clothing, food planning, and movement more important than in warm environments. A group that ignored cold could lose heat faster than it could replace it. The second layer is technology. Fire, hide working, scrapers, bone tools, laterite needles, shelters, and portable materials all point toward bodies trying to control temperature. Clothing is difficult to find archaeologically because hides and fibers decay, but needles and hide-working tools suggest that humans eventually made coverings more fitted and useful than simply draping skins over the body. Snow would have made that difference obvious. Loose cover may help in cool air, but wet snow, wind, and frozen ground demand better protection. The third layer is tracks and movement. Snow can hide food, but it can also reveal fresh footprints. Animals crossing white ground leave information behind them. Humans would have learned that snow changed hunting, travel, and danger. A track that would vanish in dry grass might stand out clearly after snowfall, but older signs could be buried and familiar routes could become slippery or exhausting. Snow both gave clues and removed clues. The fourth layer is learning. No one needed a weather textbook to notice cause and effect. Snow melts near warmth, numbs fingers, makes breath visible, covers plants, changes animal movement, and turns shelter from comfort into necessity. The evidence does not tell us one exact belief. It tells us early humans had the tools that mattered most: observation, memory, group teaching, and the ability to turn strange weather into practical rules. The mechanism of snow survival begins with heat. A human body is not built like an Arctic animal. It has exposed skin, sweating systems, long limbs, and a brain that needs steady energy. In warm weather, losing heat can feel harmless. In snow, heat loss becomes the invisible predator. Cold ground pulls warmth from the feet. Wet coverings pull warmth from the skin. Wind turns a small chill into a dangerous drain. So the first lesson snow teaches is not "this is pretty." It is protect heat before the body starts making worse decisions. The second mechanism is movement cost. Snow changes how walking works. Every step can take more energy. Ice can turn a normal path into a fall. Deep snow can slow children, elders, injured adults, and anyone carrying tools or food. A group had to learn when movement was worth the cost and when shelter mattered more. The same distance that felt easy in dry weather could become exhausting when the ground itself resisted the body. The third mechanism is visibility. Snow hides and reveals at the same time. It can bury plants, cover familiar stones, and erase the colors people use to read the land. But it can also expose fresh tracks, show where animals crossed, and make movement visible across open ground. Snow turns the landscape into a changing page. The group had to learn which marks were useful, which were old, and which were traps for overconfidence. The fourth mechanism is social adjustment. Cold rewards closeness. People sleep nearer, share warmth, protect children faster, guard fire more carefully, and choose shelter with less delay. Knowledge moves quickly because mistakes are expensive. A child learns that snow melts on warm skin, that numb fingers are a warning, that wet coverings are dangerous, and that white ground can hide holes, ice, and food. So the first reaction to snow was probably not one emotion, it was a sequence. Wonder, fear, testing, discomfort, learning, and rule-making. Snow survived in human memory as more than weather. It became a new set of instructions for the body, the group, and the land. Imagine a small group waking to a silence they do not recognize. The night was cold, but the morning is stranger. The ground that was brown yesterday is now white. The bushes look buried. The stones have lost their edges. A child steps forward, touches the surface, and pulls their hand back as the white layer collapses into water against the skin. For a moment, the reaction is wonder. People look upward. A few flakes still fall. They melt on hair, shoulders, and fingers. Someone opens a hand and watches the sky disappear into nothing, but wonder does not last alone. A foot slips on hidden ice. A digging place is covered. The familiar path to water looks different. A person breathes out and sees a cloud leave the mouth. The body begins to understand before the mind has a name for it. This weather takes warmth. The group starts testing the new world. Snow near the fire melts. Snow under shade stays. Wet fur becomes unpleasant. Bare fingers ache. A child is pulled closer. People stamp their feet and gather what fuel they can find before the white cover hides more of it. Someone notices tracks crossing the open ground. The snow has erased some old signs, but it has drawn new ones in sharp lines. An animal passed here recently. Maybe food is harder to reach now, but not invisible. By midday, the first rules are forming. Do not sit directly on the frozen ground. Keep coverings dry. Stay near the group. Watch the feet. Follow fresh tracks, not buried memory. Protect fire. Move before weakness makes movement harder. Nobody needs to explain cold with science for the lesson to become real. The body teaches it. The land confirms it. The group repeats it. By evening, snow is no longer only a mystery falling from the sky. It has become information. It hides food, marks animals, steals heat, changes routes, and makes shelter urgent. The first snow may have felt magical, but surviving it required something much more practical: learning fast. The twist is that snow may have looked like a strange enemy at first, but it also gave humans a new kind of advantage. Cold made life harder. It hid plants, punished wet skin, slowed travel, and turned shelter into an urgent problem. But snow also made the invisible visible. Fresh tracks stood out. Movement across open ground became easier to read. An animal that could vanish in dry grass might leave a clear path across white earth. That means the first snow was not only a shock. It was a new tool for attention. A group that panicked saw only danger. A group that learned saw patterns. Where did animals step lightly? Where did they sink? Which tracks were fresh? Which places stayed sheltered from wind? Which snow melted first near rocks, fire, or sun? The white layer turned the land into a record of recent events. This is the deeper human pattern. A hostile environment does not only select for toughness, it selects for interpretation. Humans were not the warmest animals, the fastest animals, or the best insulated animals. But they could turn discomfort into rules. They could notice that wet coverings were dangerous, that sleeping off the ground helped, that children needed protection first, that fresh tracks could lead to food, and that a strange morning could become a remembered lesson. So the surprise is not that early humans were amazed by snow. The surprise is that snow may have trained them to read the world differently. What began as cold confusion could become seasonal knowledge. The white ground was not just a threat under their feet. It was a page, and survival depended on learning how to read it before the cold finished writing. Today, snow is easy to turn into scenery. It becomes a postcard, a holiday, a sports season, a school closure, or a beautiful inconvenience seen through a window. But the older truth is still there under the modern comfort. Snow changes how the body moves, how the ground behaves, how far danger can be seen, how quickly heat disappears, and how much trust you place in shelter, clothing, fire, and other people. That is why the first human reaction to snow was probably not one simple feeling. It may have been wonder when the flakes fell, fear when cold entered the skin, confusion when familiar places vanished, and curiosity when fresh tracks appeared across the white ground. The group did not need to understand ice crystals or atmospheric temperature to know that the world had changed its rules. The body felt it first, the mind built meaning after, and this is what makes early humans so interesting. They were not born adapted to every place they entered. They had to become adapted through behavior. A new environment could punish them, but it could also teach them. Snow taught that warmth had to be guarded. Wet coverings could be dangerous. Children needed to stay close. Shelter mattered more. Fire became more precious. Routes changed. Animals left new signs. The land was no longer just something to walk across. It was something to read differently. Modern people still carry a faint echo of that first lesson. When snow begins, you check the sky, change your steps, look for ice. Cover your hands, protect children, and move closer to warmth. The tools are modern, but the pattern is ancient. Notice the change, protect the body, adjust the group, and learn what the new landscape is telling you. So how did early humans react to snow for the first time? Probably with awe, fear, testing, mistakes, and fast learning. Snow was not only white beauty falling from the sky, It was a cold force that hid food, revealed tracks, stole heat, and rewrote the rules of movement. The people who survived were not the ones who simply admired it or feared it. They were the ones who turned the strange white world into memory.